This is the Farm Monitor. For over 50 years, your source for agribusiness news and features from around the Southeast and across the country, focusing on one of the nation's top industries, agriculture. The Farm Monitor is produced by one of the largest general farm organizations, the Georgia Farm Bureau. Now here are your hosts, Ray DeLessio and Kenny Bergamy.
Well, hi there, come on in. Welcome back to the show. Our very own Kenny B. After a 2-week hiatus for some R&R, he is back, ready to go, including today's lineup.
Absolutely, Ray. Let's get started. Coming up, after years of trying and coming ever so close, this Turner County farmer finally hit pay dirt. Damon Jones reports on the 2020 GFB hay contest winner and the incredible piece of machinery he won for his efforts. Also on the program, a trip to North Georgia as we celebrate apple season. And if you like variety, this is one orchard you'll definitely want to visit.
Plus, whoever said you can't tailgate during a pandemic obviously did not take into consideration our recipe extraordinaire, Marcia Crowley. She's going to show you how a simple trip to the dollar store can result in a safe and delicious tailgate from the comforts of home or a parking lot. Meals from the field and more starts right now on the Farm Monitor.
Ask any farmer and they'll tell you that high quality forage is one of the cornerstones for animal health. That's why every year Georgia Farm Bureau sponsors their Quality Hay Contest, which rewards excellence in the field with both bragging rights and a new baler. David Jones takes a look at this year's winner, Jeff Lamb of Turner County.
Perseverance and persistence are two qualities that every farmer must own as they face numerous challenges on a daily basis. And both were on full display for Jeff Lamb, who was recently named the GFB Quality Hay Contest winner for 2020 after multiple efforts.
Oh, I was shocked that day I got the call that, and they told me I had won the hay contest because I had entered for several years, and I think I'd been in the top 5 a couple of times, but when they told me I had won, it was a shock and an honor. I was very well pleased.
Not only does Lamb receive the much-deserved recognition, but also a brand new Vermeer 604R baler. It's a contest Vermeer says it's proud to be a part of as it symbolizes what their company stands for.
Vermeer's been a part of the Georgia Farm Bureau hay contest for a little over 20 years now, and we just think it's very important to focus on quality hay production, not only in Georgia but throughout the country that Vermeer covers. And we just wanted to have the best in the equipment, and if we're going to have good equipment, we might as well make a good product from it.
However, that product doesn't come without plenty of hard work and planning, as there are a number of different factors that must be accounted for.
You know, you got to start with a well fertilization program and make sure your soil pH is good, obviously, and now spray consistently for armyworms. We've always had to deal with armyworms, especially later on in the season, but now the stem maggot pressure is even from the beginning of June this year, we've been having to spray for stem maggots.
While the prize and accolades are nice, that's not the only reason growers should enter, as the contest also shows them just how well they stack up against the competition.
I like to see where our hay ranks compared to others across the state, and sometimes even across the Southeast. Some of these contests, are not just limited to Georgia, but across the southeastern United States. And little did I know that first year I entered the contest, I thought I had some great hay, and whenever I got all the results back, it wasn't too good, and it gives you something to shoot for.
Our producers are encouraged by entering this contest to grow a higher quality hay. When they send in their sample, we send it to the lab and they get back a relative forage quality number, and we give them that number. Mr. Lamb had a 155 on his Russell Bermuda. Jeff works real hard on this farm. He works dawn to dusk every day. He should be recognized for a quality product that he grows.
It also recognizes the passion Lamb has for agriculture. Even though he does work a full-time job away from the farm, the field is really where his heart lies.
Anybody who's been on the farm, and especially all their life like me, farming's in your blood, and you're not going to get it out of you. You might go do something else, but especially in the fall of the year, you go by a field and somebody's picking peanuts, you have that yearning like, okay, I'm ready to get back out there.
Reporting from Turner County, I'm Damon Jones for the Farm Monitor.
All right, so most of you are familiar with the farm to retail price spread. If not, very simple. It's the difference between the cost a consumer pays versus what the farmer receives. Well, thanks to COVID-19 and the ongoing pandemic, the spread for beef and pork prices reached record levels in June. The spread for beef, $5.21 per pound. For pork, $3.65 per pound. American Farm Bureau economist Michael Nevue says the main reason for the increases was labor issues in meatpacking plants.
This was basically creating a shortage of beef and pork on the market, so you saw the increase in prices at wholesale and retail level. But because you saw a constraint in processing capacity, which basically created an oversupply of animals on the market, and that's why you saw the decline in the prices of animals as well. Hopefully we're past the worst of it. There still is somewhat of a backlog of animals. Most people think we're pretty close to, at least in the cattle side of things, getting those feedlots relatively current. Given everything with COVID, it's hard to speak with any certainty, but I think we're, at least in terms of processing capacity, mostly relatively back to normal.
In case you haven't noticed, it is officially fall, the season of beautiful scenery, cooler temperatures, football, and of course, delicious North Georgia apples.
John Holcomb visited one apple orchard in Ellijay and tells us how the apple season is going so far this year.
If you take a stroll through the Northeast Georgia mountains this time of year, there's a few things you're guaranteed to see. Beautiful mountains, and apple markets like the Red Apple Barn, ready for you to come in and buy some delicious fruit.
We typically open up in mid-August, and we're open till about Christmas. And then the U-Pick just really depends on how the crop is and the crowds. For instance, last year we picked right up till Thanksgiving, had a good crop last year. This year we don't have quite a heavier crop, so we're thinking it'll end probably around the end of October, 1st of November this year.
The Pritchetts have been growing apples since 1965, and since their very humble beginnings, have really expanded their orchard.
We grow about 22 different varieties. We do about 10 or 12 of those for U-Pick. Cameo is probably the most popular U-Pick apple, probably followed by Mutsu, and then we've got more of your common varieties that we pick on weekends, but those are a couple of the favorites.
Aside from a couple of cold snaps they got this spring, Pritchett told me this year has been a great one for growing apples.
Well, the last 2 or 3 years have been wet. This particular spring we had 2 or 3 cold snaps, so didn't seem to kill a lot of apples, but we have on some of the apples what's called a cold weather ring, just kind of a circle around the apple. But most of the apples seem to do pretty well and made it through it, but it was a cold spring. It was really warm, and then it got cold, and then it warmed back up, so we turned up to have a good crop. Has been, another wet year, 1 or 2 dry spells, but it's been a good year for growing apples.
Normally this time of year, growers would be gearing up for the annual Apple Festival that brings in hundreds of thousands of visitors to the area. But due to COVID-19, the festival had to be canceled. But Pritchett says he's not too concerned about business, especially since people have been cooped up for months and are looking for things to do.
Well, with the Apple Festival canceled, we're not sure exactly, how October is going to go, but September has started out exceptionally busy for all the apple growers and other people who are in agritourism that I've talked to. It's been exceptionally way above board. I kind of feel like it's going to level out, or either there even may be an increase this year just because there's, not much to do, and, coming out to a farm and relaxing and, enjoying the things that we do out here, I think is a big attraction to people this year.
You can find a map of orchards in the state at gfb.org under the Outreach tab and the Certified Farm Markets menu. Reporting in Gilmer County for the Farm Monitor, I'm John Holcomb.
All right, thanks, John. Well, you heard Ray mention it. Despite all the concerns regarding the virus, football season is now underway, and that means tailgating. After the break, Ray and Marcia will demonstrate some great recipes and show you a safe and fun way to tailgate.
Here at the USDA cafeteria, we serve hundreds of people a day, thousands of people a year, and we do our best to mitigate food waste and landfill waste. On the food production side, we capture all of the food scraps and food waste, so things like pineapple tops or the rinds off of a cantaloupe, We collect all of that. That's processed through our SOMAT machine, which pulps food scrap, removes the moisture. Then that is sent out for compost. Here in the cafeteria, we use compostable smallwares. So any of our cups, clamshells, plates, all of those are compostable products. So those are captured also and sent to compost. So we encourage visitors and employees to utilize these separate containers and sort their garbage before it goes into the stream, so that makes a big difference for what is actually able to be recycled, to make an impact for future generations on the health and wellness of our planet.
All right, so we have a first here in the history of Meals from the Field. This will be the first time ever that we are doing this entire segment with masks. Yes, welcome back to another edition of Meals from the Field. Joining me, as always, my long-lost friend, Marcia Crowley.
It's been a while.
I am Ray D'Alessio, and if you are just joining us, yes, this is Meals from the Field. This is the first time since February, that Marcia and I have been back in the kitchen at the Department of Agriculture. Obviously, we are social distancing due to COVID concerns, which, by the way, last month, you may have noticed, was a rerun, and that is because Marcia had a little COVID scare in her family.
Right.
We won't go into particulars or any names.
It was my husband.
It was your husband,
Yeah.
okay, you feel comfortable. Jim is doing fine now?
Jim's doing great.
Everybody,
Yep.
you cleared,
I had
you
no
quarantined,
symptoms.
no
I
symptoms?
was negative, so it's just...
But still, we want to social distance just out of an abundance of caution. And that is kind of our theme today.
It is.
Usually this time of year we do our annual tailgating, getting ready for football, but even football this year is venturing into different uncharted territories. Stadiums will not be as full as they normally are. Most places are not allowing tailgating, but we're going to go ahead and show you how to tailgate at home and not miss anything. And you've come up with some great ideas.
Everybody's got their own little personal picnic basket, so you don't really even have to get, I mean, you can definitely social distance.
Okay, and what do we have?
Okay, the first thing we're going to do is a sandwich. It's called a pressed sandwich, and you'll see why it's called pressed in a little bit.
Okay.
This is a ciabatta loaf, or you could really use any kind of whole loaf bread. And one side of the bread has pesto sauce on it, and the other is balsamic vinegar and olive oil.
Okay.
Okay. And I'm not going to show how to do the whole sandwich because y'all know how to do that. You know, I'm going to have to use my hands. This is all from the deli. This is provolone cheese, which you do need to start with that so it kind of stays together better. Go ahead and put that on there. And this is delicious. You can make pretty much all of this ahead of time so you're out of the kitchen and enjoy your guest. Then we've got ham, deli ham. I'm just going to do one. This is a half a pound of ham, half a pound of salami, a quarter of a pound of provolone cheese. Okay, we're going to pretend all that's ham. And we're going to go to the salami. And you can use the hot or the regular. This happens to be the regular because I don't really like hot things.
Could you use capicola on there?
Sure, you could. It calls for
capicola
instead of ham.
Okay.
Yeah, really you could put anything on here you wanted, whatever your family likes. Then you've got pepperoni. And y'all all know what that is. Then this is fresh mozzarella, and you can buy it already sliced. It comes in a little little roll. And this is delicious. This makes the sandwich to me. And if you don't have fresh mozzarella, I'm sure the sliced from the deli would be good, but this is delicious.
Can I be honest about something?
What?
When I first saw that, I thought it was raw biscuits.
It does look like raw biscuits, doesn't it?
I was like, why are we putting biscuits on the sandwich? I get it now.
Okay, and then this is a quarter of a cup of roasted red pepper, which come in a jar. And you just put that on there. All right, like I said, we're going to pretend this whole sandwich is done because I have to show you the pressed part. You put the top on there, and you take a frying pan or something heavy. Don't hit your
Spouse.
mate with it, your spouse. And you're going to wrap this up really good in saran wrap, and you're going to press it. You're going to do this overnight. The heaviest thing you can find to press this sandwich down so it all comes together.
Okay.
Okay?
And that's it?
That's it for
and
that.
And you can keep that in the refrigerator overnight?
Yes, you can. Actually, it's good for a couple of days. I wouldn't go past 2 because the bread will start drying out. Okay, the next thing is, this is a 24-hour salad, which this recipe has been around forever, but we're doing it in a jar. So all everybody has to do is just pick up their little jar salad and eat it. So this is half a cup of lettuce for, this is, I think, a 12-ounce jar. You're just going to layer chopped celery. Try to get it all in there. Frozen peas. And here again, you can put in there whatever you want. I'm afraid that tomatoes might get a little soggy because you can do this ahead of time. It's called 24-hour salad, obviously. Chopped onion. You can use red onion if you want, or leave the onion out. I know a lot of people don't do onion. I do. Red bell pepper. A little cheese.
We gonna need a bigger jar?
No, I don't think so. I think it'll press down. We'll just do that. And then bacon bits.
Okay.
We'll just press that down a little bit. And the dressing is mayonnaise, Parmesan cheese, and just a little bit of sugar. And when you put that on here, you want to make sure you cover the whole top and go to the edges. And we'll seal it and keep it from getting soggy. And I think y'all can figure out how to do that. Then you cover it and you refrigerate it. And when you get ready to serve it, you just take it out.
Did you come up with that idea?
I did.
I'm impressed.
Because I love that salad.
I am impressed. So again, it's kind of social distancing with a meal. You don't have to touch anything. You just kind of pour it out. You don't have to worry about people getting tongs being passed around.
And these are chocolate chip cookie cheesecake squares. And this is a package of chocolate chip cookie dough.
Okay.
Use about a little more than half. Put it in the bottom of a dish or an 8-inch pan. This is cream cheese, 1 egg, and some sugar. That's where the cheesecake part comes in. Obviously, all these will be on your website and more specifics. And then you top it with the remainder of the cookie dough, just on the top. And I'm going to show you all this coming together in that basket in just a minute. This is so easy and so good. You bake it for like 30 minutes.
Wow. And
it looks like you've spent hours in the kitchen. And the last one is, for the sake of time, it's going to be a sweet and salty nut recipe, which I'm not going to demonstrate, but it'll be on your website, right?
Okay.
You go to the dollar store and you get these little boxes and you put a couple of tablespoons in there for your guest. So everybody's got a little snack.
Why am I so fascinated right now? This
I
is
don't
awesome.
know, but isn't it fun? Then you also at the dollar store, you get a little basket, put a napkin or whatever in there. Then you're going to load it up with your salad with a little fork tied to it, your cheesecake squares, the sandwich wrapped, and we can see what the sandwich looks like over there, and your little thing of nuts.
That is so cool.
And you are ready to roll. And you just come up and you pick up your little tray and go back to your chair.
Tailgating in the era of COVID-19 and quarantine. I have to give you a round of applause.
It's fun.
It's a golf clap. I call this the golf clap. It's a lot of fun. It's safe. You can make these, and your guests can just come in and grab a basket, and you don't have to touch anything. And it looks like, other than the jar, everything can be thrown away if you want to as well.
Yeah,
in the basket,
definitely.
obviously.
Yeah, I mean, if you really wanted to, you could throw the basket away. It was $1.
Yeah. Well, let's take a final look at the finished products. Unbelievable stuff, Marcia. I got to give you credit because you really put a lot of thought into this.
It's fun.
And like Marcia said, you can find all the recipes by logging on to farm-monitor.com. Everything is there for you in complete detail. You all have a safe, healthy football season. I do got to give a shout out to Marcia as well because she actually made this Georgia mask Yes, she is an Auburn grad. She is a huge Tiger fan, but she actually went above and beyond to make this Georgia mask for me.
It's because you said you refused to wear an Auburn mask.
I'm not going to wear an Auburn mask. So thank you so much for the mask.
I'm not wearing a Georgia one.
So good seeing you again.
You too,
We have
Ray.
missed you.
Good
I've
to be
missed
back.
seeing you in person. Everybody out there, as I said, be safe. Have a great football season, and we will see you again next month.
I'm Chelsea York, the Education Coordinator with the Georgia Forestry Commission, and today we're going to learn about tree cookies. This is a tree cookie. A tree cookie is simply a cross-section or cross-cut of a tree. What can you learn from a tree cookie? Let's go find out. So just like our trees, tree cookies come in many different shapes and sizes. This one's kind of heavy too. So what can we learn from a tree cookie? One of the main things that we learn from a tree cookie is how old the tree may be. And you can do this by counting the rings, and I'll show you how to do that in just a moment. You can also learn about its annual growth patterns and the environmental conditions. There are actually scientists out there who study tree rings, and they're called dendrochronologists. By looking at a tree cookie, you can also learn about the different parts of a tree. Let's start with the cambium. This is a layer of cells that's just very, very thin inside the inner bark. The cambium produces the xylem and the phloem cells, and this is where the diameter growth occurs. Let's break that down a little bit. The phloem, or the inner bark, carries the sugar that's made in the leaves or needles down the branches, down the trunk, and into the roots, where it's converted into food for the tree. The xylem, or sapwood, carries sap, which is water plus nitrogen and some minerals up from the roots to the leaves, and it gives the tree strength. And the heartwood is the center part of the tree. The heartwood develops as the tree gets older. This part is older than your sapwood and no longer carries sap. It gives the trunk support and stiffness and makes it nice and strong. And lastly, on the outside of the tree, you find the bark. And the bark is what offers protection from insects and diseases. Looking at the tree cookie here, you'll notice that we have dark rings and light rings. The first thing we want to do is find the little center dot. That's called the pith, and that's where we're going to begin counting. This is going to be year 1 for our tree, so we're going to start there, and for me, it's easier to count the dark rings. So we have year 1 right at the center, and then 2, 3, 16, 17, 18. This tree is roughly 18 years old. So if you're ever outside and look at a tree and go, I wonder how old you are, just remember, by looking at a cross-section or a tree cookie, now you can tell. But our foresters, they use this handy tool called an increment borer that takes a core sample of a tree, and they can tell the age of a tree without even having to cut it down. Thanks for joining us today.
And if you cut us in half, you'll see a bunch of rings. Too many to count, actually. Anywho, thanks for making this show possible. We are out of time.
Take care, everybody. We'll see you next week right here on the Farm Monitor.
Stay safe.